truthfully, thought about titling this video, Guess What I Watched? But I didn't think anybody would click on it. So, this is Smokey and the Bandit. I don't really know why it's Smokey and the Bandit, but it is Smokey and the Bandit. I promise you that's what I watched. I was kind of browsing Netflix, and I got to the For You section where it like recommends titles for me, and Smokey and the Bandit was there, and I was like, you know what, I've never seen that. And I was like, oh my god, it has audio description. What? Because there's so many movies that don't. I don't know, I just had to. I figured it would encourage them to put more audio description on older titles, so that way maybe I could watch an older title I actually wanted to watch. But yeah, this is audio description on Netflix. So maybe that's the big announcement here, is Smokey the Bandit. It's accessible. So get up on that, blind and visually impaired community. Let's have a Smokey and the Bandit watch party. I don't know what to think of this movie. First of all, no, I've never seen this movie before. It's always been referenced. Yeah, I know. Like, it's one of those. You haven't seen it yet? You should have seen it. Well, I just saw it now. So yeah, I mean, it's happened. It's older than I am by enough that it's not even. It's not close. Like, you know. So it's not necessarily something I would have had the opportunity to watch theatrically. I know there's a sequel. I don't know if I'm interested in a sequel. I don't even know who's in the sequel. Everybody's got to come back for that one. But this stars Burt Reynolds in a very Burt Reynolds role. I wonder if he ever did anything. I wonder if there's a film out there where Burt Reynolds played just like a tax accountant. You know, he came in the room with like a calculator and he was like, I'm Burt Reynolds and what am I doing your taxes today? Yeah, please don't touch my computer. It's very special to me. He always plays, he's like, yeah, man, let's do this. I'm super cool. Yeah. It's like the ultimate in cool. It's great. And he picks up along the way he picks up Sally Field, who actually wasn't bad in this. I didn't know how it was going to be for her. It's funny that Sally Field used to do films like this because she feels so much like a prestige actress nowadays, except for when she all of a sudden feels like she needs to go 80 for Brady. But yeah, she's just like a runaway bride who ends up getting picked up by Burt Reynolds. And of course, over the course of their journey of him running from the police perpetually, forever, which is what this film's about, Smokey is like the code for the cops or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, and he's been hired to use his powers of distraction to help people smuggle. We live in a world where in like the 70s, I guess, like you couldn't take alcohol across state lines. I don't understand. I like immediately when that happens, at the opening scene, there's somebody who gets pulled over for like trying to bring Coors across state lines. I'm like, what? Is this Prohibition era? I don't know. I mean, this is the 70s. I didn't think we had that problem in the 70s. The film didn't really explain itself to me, and I kept having this problem where I just kept thinking, the fuck is the movie about? What world was this? But yeah, that's sort of like the start of the movie, and they're like, oh, we can't Can't bring beer across state lines. Why? When? When did this happen? When did they start pulling people over for this? And how do you know? Like, how do you know that that's what they... Anyway. Like, the plot is... There's not really a plot here. This is, like, just think of this as, like, the Fast and the Furious before Vin Diesel was born. Just go with it. Just accept it into your life, into your heart. Jackie Gleason is in this, and he is absolutely fucking committed to his role. I mean, wow. First of all, his character's a dumbass, but just the level of commitment that Jackie Gleason brings to this film is just unsurpassed by the level of commitment anyone has ever brought to any role ever, I think, probably. I mean, Jackie is all about getting in that car and talking with the thickest, weirdest accent he could possibly come up with, and constantly screaming and shouting and stomping around, and it's a performance, for sure. It's definitely a performance. So, yeah, this is a film. And I thought about, is this a racing film? Is this an action film? Is this an adventure type thing? Or is this a comedy? And I think it's trying to be more of a comedy. And I say that because when I'm thinking about the audio description, and I'm thinking about Tansy's audio description, it's narrated by Tansy Alexander, so it's obviously newer audio description. Somebody woke up within like the last 5 years and was like, oh, we should have audio description on Smokey and the Bandit. Cool. So when I was thinking about her audio description here, I was thinking, oh, does it work? And it feels like it's audio description that leans more towards comedy. It feels like it's leaning more towards trying to find the funny in the moments, which will work for the people who look at Smokey and the Bandit as comedy. If you've come here because you remembered that this film has like some cool driving sequences, the audio description doesn't really hone in too much on that aspect of it. It's not really set up for people who love cars, for example. Like, there's cursory mentions of the cars that they're driving, because that's how you kind of tell them apart. It was based on who's driving what. There's some pretty cool scenes with his use of... He has a CB radio in his car, and I can't believe I'm explaining this movie. I feel like everybody's seen it but me, but I'll just explain it anyway. His CB radio in his car, and he uses it to communicate with other people who have CB radios and truckers. And there's a sort of a cool thing that I feel like, they should have used in Fast and Furious, where they hide the car from the cops, and the cops get really frustrated, and they end up driving around the semis and driving around the Bandit, as it were, and that's how he eludes them, with the help of some semis. I thought it was pretty cool, and they described that pretty well. But you can tell when a film is focusing on the action, and you can tell when a film is focusing on the silliness behind things, when we spend time focusing on that. And I feel like this focuses on that, on gestures, on sight gags, and stuff like that. There's a point in the film, there's some things that didn't even make sense to me, but I was like, well, if we're gonna do it, might as well describe it. There's a scene, Jackie's got, his character has got, his character's last name is like Justice too. It's a weird name. It's like, there's no way that's your real name. But he's got a ride-along partner, who's Junior, who's played by Mike Henry, who I believe is the same Mike Henry that does all the voice work on Family Guy and the Cleveland Show. I believe that's the actor who voices Cleveland Brown on the Cleveland Show. And stopped voicing Cleveland at a certain point because he didn't feel comfortable voicing a character that did not match his race. Anyway, so Mike is the passenger, and there's a point where he holds the sheriff's hat in place, and I'm like, aren't they inside a car? Like, why would it fly off? I don't understand. I'm confused. I'm confused. But he does it, and it's there. And it was an acting choice that he made. So we'll do that. There's this really sort of like slow moment in the film, about 2/3 of the way through, where Bert and Sally decide to like ponder life, and are they right for each other? Do they have a future? Do they like the same things? It just kind of happens in the middle of the film, and it like slows the film down. It feels like somebody required this film to have. They're like, okay, now we got to get the romance in. It feels so out of place. Like, it feels like they have to stop, and they have to get out of the car, and they go for a stroll, and they talk about. I'm like, isn't this like a chase movie? Aren't you guys being chased? What's happening right now? And they're having like this conversation, they're like about the things that they like. Do you like reading books? No. It's okay. Yeah, so I'm not gonna say it's a perfect film, but I also feel like Smokey and the Bandit is like the favorite of a lot of people who actually were alive around this time. So it's just one of those films that's like inexplicably the favorite. Like, I love Talladega Nights, and I feel like kids who were born after Talladega Nights are gonna look at me and be like, I don't understand you. And I'll be like, you don't have to understand me. Shake and bake. That's why that's there. Big Red. Fuck you. It's like, let's do this. If you ain't first, you're last. It's like, I don't need validation from anybody else. So I don't think Smokey and the Bandit fans need validation. I think they saw this when it came out in theaters, and it was a big hit, and yeah, and they liked it, and I kind of liked it. I think it was perfect, but it didn't rocket up my favorite films of all time list. But I didn't hate the fact that I've now seen it. So there's that. There's always that possibility with driving films when you actually get to see the action happening. Some things are just really hard to describe. It's almost anticlimactic, they're just not quite as fun. It's possible that maybe the driving is a little bit more fun if you could actually see the driving happening instead of people describing to you what car racing and escape scenes look like. Anyway, but audio description is all right. I think it's leaning more towards comedy, so that's what I took away from it. If you're expecting it to really just describe action sequences the same way like a John Wick film is describing action sequences, it's not really. That's not what this seems to want to do. But it does want to try to point out anything that might be funny to you, so that you get the humor in the situation. And Tansy plays it totally straight too, by the way. Like, it's so funny because her narration, she's a fantastic narrator. I love Tansy Alexander. It's funny though, 'cause she's one of the most straight performers. She's great for a lot of things. It's funny when she comes into a comedy though, and she does comedy because it's just right down the line. It's just, this is the audio description. I'm here to tell you about the description in this film, and nothing will make me laugh. It's just, she just reads it out. It's for some people I feel like they like that, and for other people I feel like they love the people who get like really into it. When they like Miles Neff when he gets into things and he's like, "Oh my god," you feel like Miles is like also watching the film for the first time, and he's like also getting really excited along with you. It's a different it's just a different style of narration. So, but I love Tansy Alexander. I think the work she did on Stranger Things is fantastic. So it was good to hear her voice once again. Anyway, I'm gonna rate Smokey and the Bandit just because it's like 1977. Obviously, this film has been waiting all this time for me to rate it because I'm clearly the preeminent. Anyway, I'm gonna give this film a B. It's fine. It's good. It's fine. It's not my favorite film of all time, but it's considering it's pretty much exactly what I thought it was gonna be. I think for the most part, in terms of where I thought I would probably end up grading it. I guess maybe I was afraid that I wouldn't get it, and then maybe I would end up grading it a little bit lower. But I don't know. But no, it's pretty much exactly right in line with what I thought. So, but Jackie Gleason, wow, just his level of commitment to this role is, God, it should be like I hope he was in like Oscar consideration, and not because I think it's a great performance, but just because I don't think any other actor that year gave a performance where they were that committed to any role that they were in. This feels like something that was method acting. This feels like something that he got there by living like this for like a year, and walking around with this accent, this attitude for like a year, and then just came out and was like, "I got this, let's go!" And just started screaming at people. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, I just reviewed Smokey and the Bandit. So why don't you click subscribe and see what I do next? You can also go to Twitter or Instagram and follow me there, Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to macmovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's where you can learn more about Tansy Alexander. See what other things she's done. So that's it for me today. I will review something else for you guys and see you on the other side.